Welcome to Dip into the Ink, the show where I, Noah Garcia, and sometimes a guest go through a comic book page by page. Today we have the gracious, wonderful, attractive, single, and hireable Rodolfo Juarez Pinedo III. Rudy, hi.
Woo! Hey, no,
Hello.
you paused there in the beginning. I was worried that forgot my name there for a
Now
second.
you see, there's so many positive adjectives I could use to describe you. It just took me a second to pick a couple, but thank you for being here. Shout out to Rudy. I say this off mic, but shout out to Rudy. Shout out to the 10 people that consistently watch
Woo!
this.
Thank you, 10
For
people.
yeah, thank you, 10 people, because I use this show as an excuse to talk about comic books. And today we're talking about Uncanny X-Men number 4. Now, I have a quick question before we get into this comic book and start talking about it.
For sure.
Last issue, I feel like we kind of came to this consensus that we're kind of falling off. We're kind of falling off the story.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, I don't know if I want to pick this up anymore. Like I'm buying digital now. I'm not getting physical copies because I'm like, maybe I'll wait for like a comic book discount day and I'll
Save
grab
that
one.
money, yeah.
Yeah, save that money. But did this issue change before we get into it? Did this issue change anything for you?
Yes, it did. Actually, it
Yes.
kind of got me into it.
Yeah,
I'm back in it again. They
I
wrangled and pulled
know.
me back in
I
because the
know. Me
last one we
too.
were talking about, I'm like, I
Hmm.
could take it or leave it. Like I'll just keep reading Transformer comics.
Hmm.
But I read this one when you gave me the news that they already dropped another one so soon. I'm like,
Hmm.
all right, let's see how it goes. And from the start, it was like some
It's
juicy stuff
so
going on.
good. I know, right? I was like,
Action too, yeah.
I'm afraid maybe the issue is the kids. I'm afraid the issue might be the kids because all
You
the
know what?
stuff with the adults is working for me.
I think you're right because like there was only like a page or two with the
Mhm,
kids. It was at the end, so we didn't have to worry about them. So I think this one fell a lot more deeper with
mhm,
more rogue action and like
mhm,
literally like fighting like some good fights that were really got me nervous. So
mhm,
I was like, oh, what's gonna happen? Actually, really had me
mhm.
like really engaged, like flipping the pages. So that's one of the big things I loved about from this issue.
I know, so it's crazy because issue 3, we're like, maybe we should drop the title. Issue 4, all right, we're back on it, baby. Let's
Well,
fucking
back
go.
in it, baby. I'm an X-Men fan again.
Mhm. And David Marquez, the art, oh, fucking slaps in this issue. Slaps so hard. But let's just jump right into it. Let's get into it. Okay, so we are currently at the cover. For all those interested, I have the comic on my Marvel app right here, so I'm gonna be looking to the side, so I'm paying attention. But what's your thoughts on this cover? It.
You know,
Mhm,
I liked it. It's a little mysterious, a little thing like with Rogue. She seems like a damsel in
mhm,
distress, and like from what I know from Rogue already, she's anything but. She's a fighter, she's a
mhm,
leader. So that's kind of got me like, huh, I wonder what's going on here. But like, it's very suspense, man. We got like those little
mhm.
grave sites right there with like Gambit and
And
Wolverine
Jubilee.
and Jubilee. But then what kind of gets me like kind of chuckling is like in the darkness with Sarah.
We're
I was like, I
gone.
don't, yeah, like I don't know if that's a
Like,
good villain, but
I
I'll for
forget?
it.
Did she have a name? Did she have a bad guy name? I forgot
I,
if she.
I I call her the Wendigo because that's what
Okay.
she looks like. She's long and lanky, monstrous. But I guess she doesn't. She's just known as.
Yeah.
You ever seen Monsters versus
Hmm.
Aliens? um that the DreamWorks movie part where
Yeah.
they're all going around introducing each other, and then we're like, oh, like what do we call you? And she's like, call me Susan. And then everyone's like, oh, the man, terrible Susan. That's kind of the vibe I got right here.
Yeah, you know what? It's funny because her last name Gaunt, I feel like, is a better bad guy name than Sarah. Like, in the darkness, waits Gaunt. Like, because Gaunt
Yeah.
is like Dick Prepper, it's like saggy. It's like, ugh. So even
Oh
that's better
God,
than Sarah. But
Sarah. Like it has like a
uh,
red bold letters and bloody. It looks dripping a little bit. I was like, ooh.
just in time for Halloween. Just in time for
It
Halloween.
is. It is. Well, what about you? What do you think of the
I,
cover?
I enjoyed it. It kind of reminded me of like old, like an old, how do I say, like an old novella novel, like where the damsel's like on the page, like, oh, like she kind of looks like she's in like a little dress and she has like a shawl. So it feels like one of those old like Mexican posters or something where she's like, oh,
Yeah. Like
that's the
you said
vibe
it
it's
perfect
giving.
because like Halloween's around
Hmm.
the corner. Like this looks like a classic, like Tales from the Crypt kind of like comic
Hmm.
cover, right? There's the grave site. There's the monster in the back, and there's the damsel in distress.
But that is the cover. Once again, we cut back. Oh my gosh, more background. We're here with a page from the journal of Charles Francis Xavier. It says, mind you, it's still England, and it's clear there's some time going on. And he's like, I was besotted? Fucking fancy ass. Besotted with her.
That's
There's
too
no
big
other
for me.
word
Yeah.
for it. And see, they're kind of like flirting again. And it's like, I say we stop and have a proper cup of coffee so we may discuss this predicament with the gravity it requires. What say you?
Oh, so lame.
I know, he has no game. He has no fucking game. And she's just like, I say, you can't have coffee when you're pregnant, Charles. And on the next
Oh,
page, he's like, oh, what? What are you talking about? And she's like, I'm pregnant. I am. And she kind of smiles and she's like, oh, like, because at first she thinks you're kind of bantering. And then he's just like, oh, no, it's too soon. I can't. No, too soon. And she's like, no, for most perhaps, but not for me. And it's interesting because he's like, what do you want? Because they're both college students. They're in college. And she's like, I want that, what they have. And she kind of points over to like a couple with a baby.
a couple. Yeah, yeah.
And she says, you're ruining a beautiful moment. How could you? How could you, Charles? And okay, did Charles handle this the best way he could? No.
No,
But
he was bad.
clearly he did not know she wanted kids though.
That's true, right? It takes two to tango in a
Yeah.
relationship. If that's what they were in, I don't know.
Uh-huh.
It was just a fling for him. Did they never discussed it, man?
It's yeah, like you need to discuss these types of things. And I mean, like I know
we're yeah.
friends that have broken up with their partners because they're like, I don't want to have kids, and the other one did. Like that's a
Yeah.
big deal to people. So I feel like there should have been some communication. But this lady, like in her flashback, she seems a little crazy, a little kooky. So maybe it just never came up. I don't
Maybe,
know.
but then also on Charles' end too, he it's where they gotta we gotta drop this comic book so we need to talk
Mhm.
about relationships right now.
Yeah,
Like
let's do.
it's not like Charles and Sarah, man, they like from the start, they're like, what do you like? What are you into? What do you not like? There's gonna be a compromise, there's gonna be a deal breaker.
Mhm.
And into any of that, as we can clearly tell. So yeah, you're right. This is a make it or break it point.
And he broke it. Sorry, Charles, you fucked up.
Big time, man. But like, it was interesting. He was like, I wanted it for a moment. I wanted it too. I can't explain, but I am who I am. It's like, come
Yeah.
on, Charles.
And then Charles in the comics does have a couple kids, but the relationships are never good. They're never ever good.
Why is that?
It's just there's always complications, like crazy mutant powers, or like he didn't know, or he did know, and there's always like drama because it's comic books, it's X-Men. So who knows if this kid is alive or dead? I don't know. Maybe it's part of
He's a baby daddy then.
He
It's
is.
multiple kids.
He's the worst. He's the worst baby daddy. He's a baby daddy with money. Doesn't pay child support to anybody.
Oh man. You see, at least like Nick Cannon's trying,
Yeah, at least he's trying. At least he said it.
Charles, yeah.
But we cut to the next page to the Uncanny X-Men, the title page. My favorite part. Professor X is incarcerated at Malkin. Fuck. Professor X. I fucked it up. Professor X. Okay. Professor X is incarcerated at Grey Malkin Prison, the former X Mansion. He was interrogated by a woman from his past, the now monstrous Sarah Gaunt. Gaunt is working with the prison warden, Corona Ellis, as they hunt for mutants. While residing with the family friends of Gambits in Louisiana, the X-Men were sought out by a group of young mutants being targeted by Sarah. The X-Men agreed to train and protect the teens, though Wolverine chose to depart. Gaunt tracked him down, and Wolverine savagely attacked him, although he managed to somehow send Rogue a psychic warning. And then, once again, okay, well, first of all, writer Gail Simone with artist David Marquez, colorist Wilson. And it's just funny because this is a group of young mutants being targeted by Sarah. Like, once again, it's Sarah.
Again, it's Sarah.
Sarah. But yeah, we go to the next page where we're back at the fight. Ooh, it's ramping up. I like this little combo here because you see Rogue is just like, I don't know how I know it. I just know Wolverine's dying in the dark, and I can't have that. And it's a really fun combo where like she's flying and she has Nightcrawler and he's like teleporting. I don't know if it's clear, but like she flies and he teleports her ahead and then she keeps flying and it's like they're hop skipping in the air. I think that's like a fun little combo,
I love that. And like I always love like Nightcrawler's little poof, this little purple smoke or cloud, whatever you want to call it. I could just picture it in the sky, like, oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, imagine you look up ahead and you just see a bunch of clouds. You're just like, oh, Nightcrawler needs to get somewhere. He's going somewhere, just like poof, poof, poof. But let me see. She says, first Krakoa, then what happened with Charles, then Harvey X. If it's too much, please. If there's anyone up there other than Galactus, please help us before it's too late. And it's like clearly Rogue has been going through it. She's not having a good time. She's having a bad day. And this is one person she really cannot lose. But we get down to the ground and they're looking around and they kind of find the spot where everything's wrecked. And he's like, what is it? And they take like a few steps and they see Logan. And let me tell you, this page is fucking wild. This page is freaking wild. It looks so good. It looks so good, Rudy.
Looks like the movie Logan, where he's like kind of dying on the tree stump, bleeding out. This is the kind of vibe I got when I first saw that. But man, he's in rough shape, man. You could see like his muscles, his tendons on his forearms, like gash. You could see part of his red, like on his chest, right?
Yes.
You see some bones. So I don't know what Sarah did to him, but he's not healing. So like, who is she? How powerful? Yeah, I always kept wondering like, are there other villains out there like that could like best like Wolverine's like healing factor?
There are lots of them. The rule of thumb with Logan's healing factor is usually it's usually pretty good, but if it takes him a long time to heal, that means whoever was hitting him like really hard. So it's taking him some time to heal. So like how badly she was fucking him up. And can I say something controversial? Say something a little weird. Can I say something? Can I be honest? Can I be honest on this video?
You could always be honest with me.
He looks kind of hot. He looks kind of hot like that. Like it's like the blood and his shirt, and I just want to go. I was like, oh Logan, let me fix your wounds and clean you up, and let me put you to bed. Oh poor Logan. Like I want to be like this is my nurse moment when I come with a little bag and I'm like, oh Logan, and I get little cotton swabs and I clean him up, and he looks at me and it's like, hey honey, I'm back from hunting. And I'm just like, not another word. And then we stare as the moon lights upon us. This is a fan fiction I'm writing in my head. I'm just saying I could have rescued Logan if I wanted to.
This is too much blood, man.
It's a lot of blood. It's kind of gross.
That's very gross. But if you're yeah, I don't think that's controversial. I'm sure there's lots of people out there who would want to.
I mean, last episode we talked about how lots of furries probably love like Beast and Nightcrawler. So I really would not.
You'd be calling it Moonbeam. Yeah. Hey, Moonbeam.
Oh, call me Moonbeam Logan. What's up? It's because I'm your light in the darkness. Ooh.
Oh, there you go.
But yeah, I'm looking at you're right. I mean, if you look onto his left arm, like there's exposed tendon, like the skin's just ripped away. And I forget, I think our theory's last episode is that she's perhaps magical because she mentioned something about like her claws being made by like the souls of the dead or something like that. I think something like that. So, more often than not, when you have someone really strong, a magical edge will fuck them up, So maybe the magical claws are like fucking, but healing factor, like magic is kind of a get out of like how we fuck you up card. I know, like for Superman, magic is always the answer to him. You know what I mean? So that's
so we get. Well, as we dive deeper into this comic, we get a hint of like how she came to be so monstrous, but it's still kind of left me with a lot of like open-ended questions. So those hopefully I like to get answered soon. But I like how you're getting at because like we're reaching. We'll talk about when we get there. But it was obviously like a tragic origin story for how she became to be. But like you say. I still don't know whether it was magic or maybe it was a mutant ability activating,
which is something that's suggested. But yeah, no matter what happens, fuck Charles. That's the solution. But we're back to the next page where it's very sweet. Rogue says, "When I hated myself, he taught me how to stop. Every decent man to ever say he loved me, and he meant it." And that's they find him, and Kurt's just like, he's barely breathing. He's breathing barely. And he's like, of course I'm breathing for a little bit anyways.
When he said those, I was like, damn, man, he's still alive. Because he looks like, I thought he was like almost dead or passed out. But no, look, he could still.
He's a tough guy.
He's a tough guy. They're going to make him stand up in a little bit. Man, it takes a lot to put him down.
And Rogue is just like, take him back. Jubilee will know what to do. Just go. And Rogue is like, Kurt's like, I'll come back. We'll bring everyone else. And Rogue's like, I need to talk to this bitch. Give me a minute. Go. Which Rogue is such a huge powerhouse. I wouldn't be too worried about her either. You know what I mean? She might get fucked up based on what Logan said, but I'm if I had to leave someone to fight someone or at least to stall, I'd feel confident with Rogue. You know?
So here's the thing that confuses me with
Mm-hmm.
Rogue. So I know she absorbs other people's
Mm-hmm.
powers. I thought it was always temporary though. But in
Mm-hmm.
this case, it seems like if she absorbs them, like they're there to stay. Or am I getting it wrong?
No, you have a right point. It is explained a little bit in the comic, but the thing about Rogue is that her powers have developed in a sense that just by being around certain people, she can feed off their energies a little bit. So and she can like store some energies, and her powers have developed a little bit in the comics to as where like she doesn't have to like hold on to someone and like fucking drain them. Like she's kind of matured in that sense. Like she has a lot more control. You know, she can touch people. She doesn't have to worry about that. Like I know in '97 that was a big thing she was worried about. In modern day comics, she's learned to control it. She doesn't
Oh,
have to
okay,
worry
okay,
about
I
touching
understand.
people. She still wears like the gloves and everything because it's her iconic outfit, but
Yeah,
she
yeah,
can
it's always
like
cool.
long range absorb abilities and stuff. So,
Right.
no, that's a very good question. But because again, if someone like you has never read any comics and you're from '97, you're just like, how is she going to do this? It's good to like have a little bit of information on it. But
Okay, okay, I
mhm,
understand now. But like this part for like this scene right here, like I really like. It's because it's kind of like the calm before like kind of the calm before the storm. That's the best way to describe it. Because
mhm,
she's telling Logan like get Logan out of here. She even takes time to call Gambit. You know, I was like, hey,
mhm,
like I'm fight this bad lady, and Gambit's like the worried husband he is. Like I'll be there. And he's like, no, like I gotta take care of this. Something I gotta do alone.
mhm,
So like she's gonna do something crazy, and everyone else knows that. So one thing that got to me is like, yeah, I know she's strong. So this is where I really got a sense of like how strong is she really for
mhm,
people to be this worried about her. Because like from the past comics I've seen, like she could kick ass.
mhm.
But is this a point will this be like a breaking point? Because everyone else is worried about like if they see what
Yeah. Well, if you
Sarah's
saw
doing
what
to
happened
Logan,
to
like what happened
Wolverine,
to
then you got to be
yeah,
worried about
yeah,
her. Yeah. I would also be worried, but at the same time, she has different abilities. Maybe she could absorb Sarah. Maybe she could touch him. She can fly. She can do a lot of shit. So it's like different power sets. Like how different would the fight have been if Logan could fly? You know what I mean?
that's true.
But Rogue kind of throws something back at them because this whole time they're like, "Oh, you're the leader, Rogue. You're the leader," and she's like, "I'm not the leader." And now this time she's like, "I'm the leader. Listen to me. Get the fuck out of here."
Yeah,
And she's like, she picked it up. She's like, "Y'all made me the leader. Now face the consequences."
deal with it. Yeah.
But she sends her away. There's a very sweet moment where Wolverine's just like, could use a piece of good news before this ride home, Elf. Got anything like in the chamber? And Nightcrawler responds, Krakoa lives, my oldest friend. Krakoa yet lives. And it's just very sweet
Yeah.
because Krakoa was like, it was an island where it was a paradise and they could all live and like be happy, and now it's gone. And it's like, what do you do when your home is destroyed? Well, you carried it in you. So as long as you live, Krakoa still lives. You know what I mean? So that's just like a
I
nice
love
sentiment.
That's what I love about this issue too. Like, there's a lot of
Mhm,
like hope, especially
mhm,
what like Rogue said earlier. It's like if there's anyone out there up above, like besides like Galactus, like come on, man, like do us a solid. Like that's what I really like too. And then what we hear, what Nightcrawler said. So like, there's always little specks of hope in this
that would be super funny if like they're fighting and then Galactus comes down and it's like, "You called for me."
issue. He drops his finger.
This destroys North America. So like I helped, and then he flies away. And the
Oh
mutants are
well,
like,
so
"Fuck." At least it wasn't a mutant.
yeah.
But we go to the next page where it's interesting because she's like, "I feel here. I don't know how, but I do." And she's like, "I know you're here, Sarah." Again, no bad guy.
Oh, yeah.
I know you're here, Sarah. What say this sweet southern gal teaches y'all some proper manners, you twisted murdering bitch? And I was like, oh my.
Yeah.
And then Sarah jumps on top of her. She's like, yes, come to mummy. And then, maybe she should have been like Mummy Gaunt or something. Like I don't know, like Mother of the Woods, something like that could be fun.
Something like that. That's the kind of like vibe I got too.
Mm,
Yeah, she wants to eat some children, right?
very witchy, very Wendigo.
Very witchy. She lives in the
Mm.
forest.
Which honestly, slay. Honestly, cunt. Anyways, they fight back a little bit, and she's like, "Sorry, mama, I got too many scary mamas already." And they start fighting, and it's interesting. You have a little tat. He's like, mutants, and she's just like, "I don't fucking like you." And it's just very. What does she say? There's like a couple references she drops, like, I think she hits harder than Colossus, and like her smile's eviler than
Yeah.
Mojo, which again just feels like more references for like X-Men fans that are new, because I don't know, just because you don't normally reference Mojo, but because Mojo was in '97, they're just like, oh yeah, evil Mojo. Remember the Jubilee
Who's Mojo?
episode? He's the evil guy from the Jubilee
Oh,
episode, and he's just
from
like
that TV.
TV ratings.
Yeah. Okay, okay, okay. I get it now.
Hmm.
Well, what I like about this battle sequence is like
Hmm.
she has her little internal monologue, and she tells you like just how like powerful Sarah
Hmm.
is. Again, yeah, like okay, well, she hits like colossal. Like she's
Hmm.
assessing the each blow and each conversation and each attack like Sarah
Hmm.
gives him. So that like the deeper it gets into, I'm like, oh damn, so like she's strong, man.
Hmm. I will say I'm still not sure how Rogue is as like as like an overall leader. That's still being tested, but I think during like quick situations, during fights, like in like a strike, she's been in charge of like strike teams before. She's really good. She's good at analyzing. She's good at figuring out the situation of kind of like judging her opponent. She's great at that. So we'll talk more about the fight scene in a minute, because it's a pretty long fight that goes throughout the book that I really enjoy.
Yeah.
But we cut back to the kitchen, and they put him on the kitchen table, and he's like fucking bleeding out. Like this bitch is not healing. This bitch is not fucking healing. But they try to bandage him up, and we cut back to Grey Malkin prison, formerly Xavier's school. And this woman goes, "Scurvy, Philip, we have our problems of our own. There's unauthorized access to the old Morlock tunnels below the grounds. The Brummer system is giving unreliable data, and Xavier's gone catatonic." And that was the boss lady. And this weird, I forget who, like scientist, he's just like, "Our mutant supplier warden. Sarah's going after their leader. Rogue. Yes, it's only a distraction. She's found their base somehow, where the kids are." And I think it's funny, is like he found their base somehow. They're in a house. It's not a secret base. They're in a
Yeah,
house.
when they were saying a base, I was like, are they talking about the house?
Yeah, the house. Like you can use Google Earth to find them. They're not hidden. I just thought that was a funny moment. But this is the one time where our cutaway to them, it feels like in the plot, like I'm not too distracted by it. You know what I mean? Because I feel like last issue
Yeah,
cutting back to them was a bit like it got me off the beat of the writing. But
I
she goes,
agree. Like too many like plot points, but this one
mhm.
kind of like this one streamlines.
Yeah, it streamlines a bit and it ties in a bit more. The warden goes, "Well, it's not our affair, and I don't see how this is our problem. Good riddance, I say." And you see, this tells us more about the character, because he goes, "There's
Yeah,
kids, 15, 16, oldest shy is 17, same age as your brother, Karina." And this woman, she shows a little softer. She's like,
yeah.
"Prickly, my friend, too prickly by half. And what would you propose we do?" And he's like, "Help them, send the trustees." "No, we won't be doing that." And we know trustees, I think she's building like mutants to help her run the jail, I guess.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, after
mhm,
this issue, I was very convinced that they were. Oh, before this issue, I was
mhm,
convinced they were bad guys. But now I'm again. Now I'm not so sure of their motive. But that's what I like,
yeah.
because I want to get down to it. Like, so what are they?
Hmm.
Are they more of a neutral? Are they doing just I don't know what they are. But
Yeah.
like so like I thought this old dude, I thought he was like a freaking evil dude. I thought he was like evil and
Yeah.
cunning and conniving, but he's showing like a concern,
Yeah.
for these kids and for the X-Men.
Hmm.
So I'm like, so what's so it has me puzzled. I'm very very into it. Like,
Yeah.
what do they want? What is it that they want?
Yeah.
It's driving me crazy.
It is like, because you read them first, it's just like pure evil. But now it's kind of
Yeah,
like, wait, is it one of those things where they want to capture mutants because they think they're like a danger? Like they're not straight up killing? Like what is. what are you trying to do here? So I think that is interesting that you see a bit like a different side because this entire time it's been evil, evil, evil. And I like a little
Yeah,
change up, and I appreciate that.
especially with this old guy. Like he
Mm-hmm.
rarely talks. But in the past, what he did, it was just like simple, basic stuff, like, "Oh yeah, we completed the test" or stuff like that. But now he's like,
Mm-hmm.
now he's actually like, it seems like an actual character now. Like he's contributing to the main storyline. So we'll see how it goes.
And we cut back to the fight where this Wendigo, she's like, "You really should be thanking me to get you out underneath Charles' thumb. Surely you see it, how he always gets his way somehow." And I'm just like, spill. She's right. Charles, fuck Charles. I'm on the fuck Charles Xavier train. Although there is a fun moment where she hits him, where the mother hits Rogue, and she's like, "Oh, that was it. Concussion.
That
Fuck."
was the one. Yeah.
And as we go to the next page, let's talk about the fight. What do you think of this brawl? I'm really enjoying it.
I like how like
Mhm.
Sarah plays dirty, right? Like just grabs her by the hair, throws her on the ground, stomps on her. Where it looks like Rogue is more of like a calculated fighter, right? Like she
Mhm.
knows when to pull her punches, when to strike, where to strike, where like
Mhm.
where to probably maybe a weak point. So I like the different. You could see the fighting
Mhm.
styles, and I like that.
Yeah, like the mother is more of like an animal, and Rogue is more of like a brawler. She's more of like a
Yeah,
boxer. I think is
yeah,
in,
that's right. Like the
mhm.
uppercuts over here, right? Yeah.
And I think there's a fun thing that I feel like you only know if you're an X Men fan, kind of. But she's like taunting them, and she's just like, "Oh, fuck you, mutants! I don't care. And she says, "Do you know where my powers come from? Look around you. Every living thing, every cricket and sapling, 10 million acres of trees in the state alone." And she kind of makes fun like Omega level because Omega is like the most powerful mutants. She's like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
"I'm afraid my Greek is rather poor. What is 10 times Omega?" And you kind of hear like, "It's not a number." It's like, "Excuse me, I have to pick up." And then Rogue uppercuts her. It's like, "I said it's part of the Greek alphabet. Ain't a number at all." And she like knees mother. There's a little bit of a back and forth, but I thought that was funny because people are always talking about omegas, and I'm just like, yeah, it's not a number, it's like a letter.
I find it funny where it's like because like throughout this fight,
Mhm.
I had trouble like understanding what Roke was saying. So
Yeah,
she said like alphabet, not number. I was like, what? Like what?
her like
It's almost
southernness
like
is coming out. Her southernness is really coming out right
I
now.
yeah. I had to like zoom in a little closer. Like what?
Mhm.
What is she saying? So I thought that was pretty funny.
But yeah, once again, this fight really continues, and we get more of those narration. Uh, she cracks him up against the head, and she's like, "I believe I just heard something crack, and that means she's breakable." And now we get a bit of an explanation, like what you were asking earlier. She says, "See, I might have got a bit of a secret. I absorb powers. I have Wonder Man's running through me on the current. Still got a little mess of Captain Marvel on the back shelf too. Don't tell nobody. But here's the fancy part. That's just in this hand. Oh, and
Yeah,
Sarah Logan says go to hell. So apparently, like
yeah.
she can absorb a little bit of power and keep it. She says she has a bit of like Captain Marvel stored away, which I think is interesting, which explains a lot because the past couple of issues she's been flying, she's been punching, and it does. I think if you're a long time X-Men fan, that really just shows her development and her powers because I believe after the 90s she loses the flight and the punching and all
Oh,
that.
okay.
She because eventually those powers she still fade away. And then for
Ah,
a lot of the early 2000s, she has to be paired with someone. She has to touch people. She has to be like on different squads, and she does a lot of experimentation with powers because during the 70s and 80s when she's first introduced, more often than not when she touched people it would mentally fuck her up. She'd go like ah like
yeah.
absorbing consciousness. But as she develops and grows her powers, it just really shows how far she's come, and this feels like a good example of that.
I remember like growing up as a kid. I didn't really watch X Men, the original X Men
Mhm.
cartoons in the early '90s. I only saw like bits and pieces of it, but obviously I don't remember enough that she flew in that cartoon
Mhm.
show. I believe, right? So I mostly grew up watching like 2000s, mid 2000s. Even seen like the X Men movies, and with Rogue's character, I don't think she ever flew.
No.
So it wasn't until like X Men '97 I was surprised, like, oh, she could fly. Like,
Mhm.
oh, okay. Like, I'm like, not a bad thing. I think that she looks badass, man. Like, that's even all for the better. So, for me, her flying, I just since like rewatching everything, I always thought that was always part of her.
Mhm.
Just that was just always one of her like powers that she always had. But now that you're explaining and breaking it down, like that's something that she had to like kind of learn to live with, develop, right, grow.
Mhm.
Uh, that's I could see why she's considered like an Omega level threat.
I will say there was a fun moment where I was talking to a friend. I was talking with our friend Kevin. He's not gonna watch this. I was talking with our friend Kevin, and I was talking about this Marvel. I don't know how it came up, but I forget how it was. And I was like, oh yeah, back when Carol was Miss Marvel, and he's like, what? Miss Marvel is like a Pakistani girl. I was like, no. Before Carol was Captain Marvel, she was Miss Marvel, and she had her own fucking heroes and she did her own fucking adventures. And there's a whole thing where Rogue started out in the comic as a villain, and one of her big villainous things is that she held on to Carol for too fucking long and put her in a fucking coma.
Oh shit.
So then during like a couple decades, she just had the Miss Marvel powers, like flying and punching and da da da. So that's why she had those powers for such a long time. And then later, Carol woke up, and it's a very interesting look into the character of Carol Danvers. Her history is incredibly interesting, but later writers would feel bad about what happened to Carol because to not get into it, what happened to Carol during that era was very bad. It was sexist. It was horrible. It was misogynistic. She had a bad time. Later comic writers would make her more powerful and give her like the laser blast, and like eventually she get her power back. It's a whole thing, but it is very much like how far Rogue has come. To escape that tangent, how far Rogue has come, and she's doing a pretty good job. See, I feel like Rogue knows a brawl may not be something she has the dexterity for, but flying around, punching, throwing things at her, she's using her skills smartly.
Yeah.
But we cut to the next page where the fight continues. And it's like this fucking bitch is like, you barely literate fool. You
Yeah.
ornamental puppet.
I love that part.
And there's a fun moment
Even
where
I had trouble like understanding her too, man. I was like, what?
And Rogue's just like, I thought taunting her would make her sloppy. Always works for Spider-Man.
Yeah, that was funny.
And she's like knocking the shit out of her for a second. Like she's trying to put her to sleep. And Rogue is fucking about to get knocked out. And she's like, okay, stop. Hold on, time out. Just for 1 minute. Could you like I could touch you. I could take your powers. Yeah, like
This was interesting
yeah.
part of the fight. I'm like, what? Like, but I guess it was kind of smart of her,
Mhm.
Like, again, like I just not. She's just she's not a fighter, right? Like she knows maybe
Mhm.
when to talk, right? When to kind of like
Mhm.
pause, right? Try to get to know this person. So
Mhm.
that this gives me a lot more respect for Rogue, because again,
Mhm.
like I know very little of Rogue, up until like again X Men '97, like the movies that we've seen. So now that like this really shows her as a leader, as a fighter, I'm like, okay, I like her. I like her. She's one probably on my
Yeah,
top
she's
five
smart.
now.
She's smart. She's good with combat. And it's this entire fight, I feel like the mother has been kind of like, I'm bad and you can't understand me. Like that's the vibe she's been
Yeah,
giving. So this is Rogue being like, all right, well give me your fucking, can you monologue
yeah,
while I heal? I'm drinking a
yeah,
health potion. Can you villain monologue while my friends heal me up? And she does. She's like, all right. She's like, I'll tell you. Uh, I haven't slept in 17 years. There was a hurricane, you might have heard. 125 billion in damage. Almost a third of people left and never came back. We waited for help that never came. I held us up with my left hand, my little Brian, just 9 years old, on my right. No food, no water, wearing pajamas in the endless rain. Sometimes in the night, I don't know when, my right hand became empty. And at some
yeah.
point, I just left to go with my left as well. And it's just like, shit, that's fucking. Now, is this
That
Xavier's kid? I'm assuming it has to be if she
I
kept
just when
it.
I was reading,
Hmm.
I kept thinking like, where was Charles? Like, where was he?
It was
And same thing.
probably it was
Is
probably
that
in
his
space
son?
sleeping with some bird lady. I don't know.
Probably, but like the panel that really got me was
Hmm.
the roof of the house, like
Yeah,
scratched on his "I'm sorry," surrounded by like the tidal waves. Is like, yeah,
like shit. And this hits even hard right now. It was not coincidental at all about how there's a fucking hurricane happening in the U.S. as this
yeah,
recording, and
not
it's
not one but
devastating.
two, right?
Two
Yeah,
two big hurricanes happening, and it's Oh, it hits even harder because if you look at I like thank God, thank bless that we're not affected by that. But for the millions of people that are displaced, that have lost their homes, that have been hurt or lost loved ones, it's tragic. And just reading something like this, I feel like a little like, oh, this is like it's not good. But
Definitely
we
not good.
but we cut to the next page and she goes, I asked for peace, I asked for forgiveness, I was denied. I saw things floating all around me in that wretched, filthy water. Bodies and worse, so much worse. What came out of the water 3 days later, I'm not sure if it was me at all. And it's kind of funny because Rogue is just like, you can't blame mutants for that. And she goes like, I don't. I blame Charles. Let's finish this up, shall we?
I love that too. Like it's just her motive just to kill.
Mhm,
Okay, okay. So okay, I get that part. Like that
mhm.
kind of funny, right? Like because again, Charles, like I'm trying to get the gist again. Like Charles is an asshole, right? He's a dick.
Mhm.
But again, I still don't know why she wants to kill the kids though. That's where it's still getting me. Like,
I
huh?
wonder. I don't know if she's gonna kill them. Maybe she'll take them, and like maybe it's a
Oh,
whole thing. Like, she's been
maybe,
very witchy. Maybe it's like I lost my kid, so I'm gonna adopt kids and make them evil like me. Like maybe it's that type of thing.
maybe. Well, okay, because it's just always been applied that she wants them
Mhm.
killed, right? Because I think like maybe the X Men have said that, right? Like, oh, she's gonna kill the
Because
kids, or
she didn't
yeah,
in like the first issue. She didn't kill like that deer girl. She delivered her to what's her face.
yeah. That's
Maybe she
true.
does want to kill him. I don't know, but I don't. Maybe she sees him as like the next generation, and she's like, "Fuck you, Charles, and your dream. I don't fuck with you." But maybe she's
Maybe
also
like she's gonna form her own team, right? Or
maybe
like be better than the X Men, but
maybe
at what cost, right? Their free will's gonna be at risk. I don't know.
she's also a
Okay, okay.
little racist because Rogo's like, Sarah, how did you
Yeah,
survive? You might even be a mutant. Did you ever think of that? And she's like,
yeah.
don't ever call me a mutant, you diseased little sanctimonious tot. And she
I
like
like how
fucking
before she says that though, she's like, "Come closer."
yeah, come closer. Like
Yeah,
ah,
come, I got something to tell you.
like I'm gonna get right in your face and fucking. And then next page, she fucking breaks Rogue's like
Ah,
arm, and it's like oh. And what did she say? She says, "And I found a way to make the concussion seem like a tropical vacation." As she snaps my bones like summer twigs.
that was intense.
And this
I
bitch
didn't even
is
know like Rogue's
crazy.
bones could
I
break.
know, but hopefully she absorbed a little bit of Logan so she could heal it up. I don't know. But she says, this mother says, weren't you about to teach me some manners, little creature? Tell me more about manners. And she just starts fucking laughing. That's her little laugh.
That's my best era laugh.
I
Yeah,
enjoyed it. I enjoyed it more than mine. But we cut back to this lady. She's a part of the plot. Oh my god. She's like,
yeah. This was a
mhm,
surprise.
Mr. LeBeau Gambit. My name is Dr. Krina Ellis. I'm the warden at, yes, what used to be Xavier's Academy. I'm going to say this once and it won't be repeated. Sarah Gaunt doesn't care about your wife. She wants to kill, yeah, you're right. She wants to kill the mutant kids you're protecting, and she's sending a small army. That is all. Good luck, Mr. LeBeau. And, fuck, I
I was
can't.
surprised by that.
I was, it was, that scientist was like, oh, they're the same age as your little brother. And I guess she was like, all right, fuck, I'll give him a call. I'll give him, like a courtesy call.
Ah,
And I'm not good at Gambit, but he's like, well, that got me feeling some kind of way, Marcus. And it's like, "Ah, fuck, I cannot do. I need to watch the Deadpool Wolverine so I can do
let
that
me try.
horrible.
Let me
Okay,
try.
all right,
uh, Cajun. Oh
Cajun,
well, you don't
Cajun.
know.
It's
Cajun,
okay,
Cajun.
Cajun.
Well, that got me feeling some kind.
I'm about to put a name.
Well,
I'm about to put my
yeah,
name
yeah.
for
Okay,
my.
all
I'm
right. Let
about
me
to make a
channel that. Let me
name for
channel that. All right, all
myself.
right.
I'm about to make a
Well, that got
name.
me feeling some kind of way, Marcus. That's almost
Hey,
like a
okay,
dream,
that was
man.
good. That was good. I liked that. Well, that got me feeling some
But
kind of way,
I
Marcus.
this is a part where like like she's helping
Mm-hmm.
them. It's like earlier she's like, oh, that's I don't want to
Mm-hmm.
talk about it. Now that she's making a personal call,
Mm-hmm.
like
And
just giving like a warning, a heads up. It's like,
yeah,
okay, okay.
and
So she's not
like
as bad as I thought she was.
Sarah's trying to kill mutants. Dr. Corinna is just trying to imprison them or use them. So I guess that's like where the line is, I guess. And maybe it's not, maybe it's just because they're kids. Maybe she has a soft spot for kids, like they mentioned her younger
Maybe
brother.
too. Yeah.
Maybe it's that. But Gambit's just like, well, that got me feeling some kind of way, Marcus. And we cut to fucking it's funny how
That was a
like
good one.
I
That was a
know
good one.
I know a lot of people make fun of Gambit's Channing Tatum's Gambit voice.
Yeah,
But it's become a little iconic. It's a little iconic for the
it's a
memes.
very. That's exactly
Yeah.
how they talk. That's what I that's what I hear.
But the dad who owns the property is just like, everyone go in the basement. And he Gambit's like, little girl, watch my cats. And Gambit's about to go face him alone, and Jubilee's like, hey, where do you think you're going? He's like, shit, Logan needs you. And he's like, screw that. We're the last remaining X-Men, aren't we? He's like, come along then, fresh old thing. And they're like, I need your question about this. There's a bunch of guys in cloaks, and we saw them in the beginning,
Yeah.
like they're helping Hunt. But this creature, this doe creature goes, people of the house below, too long have your kind existed only to spoil the bloodlines of true humanity. Surrender or suffer the consequences. Is this the doe girl from the first?
That's exactly what I was thinking too, and I think it is. It has like that pinkish hair.
Yeah. Like the doe legs. I'm just not sure, but I'm just like, that'd be crazy.
Yeah, right. No, yeah, there was the doe legs, but I thought that Sarah turned her into the warden, right?
Maybe Sarah took her. She was like, I'm taking this bitch, I'm recruiting her. I don't know.
I don't remember. Do you remember anything that happened? I don't.
I just remember her delivering.
Yeah, I remember delivering, and then at one point, like Sarah messes with Xavier.
It's like she goes to taunt her.
And then she bails. She leaves.
Yeah.
She leaves like the prison without like a trace, right? But I don't ever remember them saying like, "Oh, she took the fawn" or something like. Because I was wondering too, like, whatever happened to the fawn girl?
Yeah, like is she just in jail now? Like, where's this child?
Yeah, and honestly, I don't even remember these people in the cloaked people.
You
said you recognized them from the
in issue 1, they were helping chase the girl down.
I totally forgot about that.
It's been like a couple months since issue 1. Don't worry about it. But they were helping because the fawn girl like fights some people before she gets attacked. I don't know. You can look at it later.
Okay, yeah. I'll look back at our old videos. How about
look back at it. Yeah, give us a view. And the black hole kid is just like, we're here. And Gavin's like, now didn't I go and give you some water, as I recall? And these kids are fucking out here. And they're gonna fight. And there's a funny moment where I don't know if you got this, but Gavin's just like, fucking Gambit. Well, there's a lesson in a million cages in the entire world, kids. No sense in losing the best one. And they do a little, I don't got a catchphrase, flights forward, no shame in running if you need to. And that would turn into Italian, don't worry about it. But they do this thing with their fingers. It's a new thing they're introducing in the comics. It's supposed to be an M for mutant. It's supposed to be an M. I don't like M. It's supposed to be an M.
I could kind of see it. It's like upside down Spider-Man.
I don't care for it. I'm like, it just seems like.
I like how Nightcrawler does it though.
Yeah, he has to have two hands. He needs both hands. Yeah. But in a few comics, I believe the one with Kitty Pryde Shadowcat, like mutants that aren't trying to be obvious, like they'll flash each other the symbol. It's very much like, oh, I'm a mutant. Okay, me too. Yeah, like they're trying to be down low about it, so it's kind of being like that. But they do like a little bit all hands in. They're just like, yeah, let's go fight murderers. And then the next page, we get a very, very, I don't want to be crass, but a very sexy page where we hear, that might have been the all-time worst battle speech in X history, Remy. It's like, you foolin' Ponda? Have you listened to Choco Summers? Like listening to Corn Grow, that is. And he's just like, fair. Now, for the love of God, will someone point me to one of the bad guys while I can still stand upright? And fucking Logan, oh, my phone went off. And fucking Logan is bleeding, his claws are out, and he's ready. And it says, next, red wave, conclusion. And it's just, ooh.
I love that. I had no idea, like, Logan got blind during the battle, though.
Shit, that's
wild. Like, oh, but he looks a little better.
All right, so overall thoughts on the issue.
I loved it. It reeled me back in. The previous issue, I was like, whatever. Mm-hmm. You know what? This one has me going. Like, what's going to happen with the kids now? Who's going to end up winning in this battle? Is Rogue going to survive this fight with Sarah? I don't know.
Sarah.
Again, I have so many more questions, but now it's questions I want are back in having me invested into this series. What about you?
Definitely. I was very much going to be like, I was gonna message him and be like, "Hey, I'm gonna do issue 5. You don't have to do it with me if you don't." But now I'm just like, "Let's do issue 5."
Yeah, let's do it.
But yeah, follow us in everything. Just follow us. You don't have to just find us and follow us.
Love me.
Love me. Social media is down in the description below. Goodbye.